Hey guys, Darren from Boss Adventure. We're here today. We're doing a handover video. When you come and actually collect your van, we take you through the whole van and make sure you know how to use everything, but there's a lot to take in. So some people are new to caravanning. Some people have only had a normal caravan, not a hybrid caravan. They're a little bit different to operate. So we want you to be really confident when you get out in the bush or in a caravan park, you know how to actually use the water, how to use the electricity in the van, just so you get the best out of your van. Okay, so in the front part of the van, in the front box, we have a barbecue tray. That'll fit a Weber BBQ. You can leave the Weber on there when you're traveling. You just put a strap around it so it doesn't move around. It means you don't have to put that Weber in the back of your car or inside the caravan itself. The tray is on a pivot. That swivels all the way around and comes back around beside the van. We put a second gas bayonet in just underneath this cupboard, which we'll show you in a moment. In the front box, we also have the tank for the diesel heater. That is a 5-litre stainless steel tank, so it shouldn't leak. Your diesel heater will run for around about a week for about an hour to 2 hours a day. Really economical. So to pack that back up, that just comes back around, pivots back in, and then underneath here we have a little clip that just locks onto there just to keep that stability in the tray when you're traveling, to stop it moving around. And then underneath here, as I said, we do have the second gas bayonet just underneath here, and that's where your barbecue will actually plug into. And that's your barbecue tray. So really convenient. You've got that there. You've got a bit more room in the front of the diesel tank. You can store some stuff in there. You will get a little bit of a diesel smell because diesel, you can't do anything about that. So don't put anything there that will absorb smell. For things like buckets and stuff, they can go in there, no problem. On the other side of the front box, we do have room for 2 9-kilo gas bottles. If you don't want 9 kilo, we can swap them out for 4.5 kilo bottles, depending on what you want to do. Just make sure when you do get your bottles, you get them with a new connection. They're a larger connection. Pretty sure they're a grey or a black tap on the gas bottles when you do your swap and go. And then when you're turning it around, you just move the tap around to suit whichever bottle you're using. If you're only going for 1 or 2 weeks, just take 1 bottle. You can save yourself about 20 kilos by just taking 1. You're not going to run out of gas while you're away. And so that's the front box. Okay, the first hatch you see here, 2 clips. Open that up, you get a full-length tunnel boot all the way through. The majority of our vans are the same, so you've got plenty of storage in there. And then in the next hatch, same clips, so they're the same key, which is really good. We have a 3-drawer system in this van. Some have 2 drawers, some have 1, depending on the van you choose and how you want it to be laid out. So in here, there's a travel cover. That actually buttons on the front of the van, so it stops any stones, birds, bugs from damaging the front part of the van.
And here we have the front cover to attach to your van. This helps protect it from stone chips as you're traveling, and also bugs. The front of your van has some press studs. You just press those buttons in just like that. Do it all along around the top, and that adds that protection. Now, when you're stopped and you're ready at camp, it's best to take this off so you don't get moisture behind the cover, and it then doesn't spoil the paintwork.
In this drawer is all our goodies, which I'll go through in just a moment. Then you've obviously got a top drawer as well. At the moment, I've just got all the instruction manuals and everything for everything in there. Diesel heaters, hot water services, how to use a TV, how to use the aircon, etc. They're all in there. You can put them wherever you want. We just have them in there at the moment. So, okay, the first thing I'm going to show you is it's the wheel brace. It's also the handle to put your legs down. So when you're putting your legs down, there's 4 legs around the van. All you do, you take the weight off the leg itself, pull the handle, and then that drops down so it's down square. You can also put them on angles so they can push into the side of a hill or the back of a hill, just the stability. They are stabilizing legs, not lifting legs. So you can't level the van with these, but you can certainly stabilize it so when you walk inside, it doesn't move around. It has a 19mm socket on the end. That goes onto the nut inside there, and then it's just a matter of winding it down until you get it down to the ground so it's nice and firm. So as I said, they are stabilizing leaks, not lifting leaks. So you can't lift the van with that, but you can certainly stabilize it up though. Okay, in here we have a can of black paint. This black paint, do not paint this with this. This dries matte, and that's the semi-gloss. This is the people who want to get underneath their van and keep it touched up and nice, looking nice. You also get a can of a silver frost. Really handy for keeping your drawbar and your chains looking nice. They will get a little bit of surface rust on them over time, so you can give them a touch up with those to keep them looking really good. You do get some ropes and pegs which you can use for your awning. You get a couple of extra elastic straps. You get 4 more pegs which go into the foot of the awning leg, which I'll show you that at the end of the video. You do get a calibration pin, I suppose you're going to call it, that can help you calibrate your awning, because sometimes the motors can get out of sync, so you can calibrate with that. Then you have a remote control for your roof lift. So these are an automatic roof lift, so you get a remote control. You get a remote control for your radio, you get a remote control for your smart TV, and you also get a remote control for your air conditioner. It's a reverse cycle aircon, plus it also has a diesel heater as well. Okay, we also have some solutions for your toilet system, which is in the next hatch just here. So inside here is the Thetford toilet system. This has its own 14-litre storage tank. So when you're traveling, you don't need to fill your water tanks up. This has its own storage tank, so you can actually stop on the side of the road, use the toilet without having to have your own water on board. To fill that storage tank up, open the filler neck, take the cap off the top. The pink solution out of here goes into the storage tank. It has a gauge on the side here to tell you how full the tank is. Just make sure when you're putting the water in there, you do it nice and slowly. You can get air locks in there, which means it'll prevent the toilet from flushing. So just make sure you're putting the water in very slow, just so you don't get any air locks in there. Okay, to use the Thetford system itself, it has a lever on the bottom here. You just pull that lever up, and then that comes out, and you can take that out. It has a handle on it, so you can go for a little walk and go and empty it. Okay, to empty the system, you pull the spout round, undo the cap. It also has a pressure release valve on the back, so when you're pouring, it'll help pour and stop it splashing, so you don't get all over your shoes and things like that. Okay, on the top here, I'm just going to have to get you come a bit closer. There are 2 arrows on the top of this cover. They need to be aligned. This cover will go on that way, but it will also go on that way. If you put it on that way, it won't go back into the toilet canister itself. So when you're putting that back on, make sure the arrow on the side and the arrow on the edge there, they line up together. So the way this system works, when you go to the toilet inside, there's a lever inside the ensuite. It holds this and opens the top of the canister up. So you would go to the toilet as usual, push the flush button, and then when you're finished inside, you pull the lever back up, and then that closes that back up. After you've finished emptying it, you put the blue solution in here, some disinfectant, about a litre of water, close that back up, give it a swish around, empty that back out. It just stops any wicked smells and stuff coming back out of the system. So then you put this back on. If you forget to close this, it doesn't really matter, because inside here, there's a little Y section. It will actually grab hold of that little lever, and it will actually close it for you. So if you happen to forget, which I've done now, as I'm putting that back in, you can see, well, you might not be able to see, but you can see it's actually turning that, and it closes it back up. So that's now closed. So then when it goes back in, just make sure it locks in place, put the handle back in place, like so, and then you can close it up. That's how you use your toilet system. Okay, water in the tank, in the van itself. We have 2 120-litre freshwater tanks, and we also have an 80-litre grey water tank. On the side of the van, you'll see 1 filler neck, 2 fillers, and 3 fillers. Very easy to operate, normal key, put it into the lock, quarter turn, the cap comes out. On this particular van, the grey water tank's at the front of the van. There is a tap under there to drain that, which I'll show you in a moment. But we have this one here. What you can do is you can open the tap on the grey water tank, fill water into here, and actually flushes any dirt and sand out of the bottom of the tank. The other 2 are for your fresh water. So you've got your front tank and a rear tank. So just 120 litres in each one, so you get 240 litres of fresh water. You can just fill one tank if you wanted to. The water pump draws out of both tanks, but you can fill 1 or 2 tanks individually. Okay, so the grey water tank, underneath here you can see a tap with a nozzle on it. That's where your silage hose goes onto. You just push the hose back up onto it and then open the tap up, and that will free flow out of your ensuite area.
So now we're around the other side of the van. I'm going to show you where to empty out your 2 freshwater tanks from. Although not 100% necessary, I guess if you've got water that's been there really stagnant for a long period of time, it's worth doing. But at the same time, you can turn your water pumps on, turn your tap on your drawbar, and flush as much water out of the tanks as possible. You will end up with a little bit left in there, so if you wanted to, you can empty them from here. So we've got the 2 freshwater tanks underneath here. They've both got a little plastic bung, as you can see here. You grab your shifter, just loosen the bung up, like so. Then you can just get to it by hand, undo it, and drain the water tank out. And then if you want to as well, you can also obviously put some water in from the filler to flush it out even better. And before you refit your bung, just make sure that your rubber hasn't perished. If it has, just replace it before you refit it, otherwise it'll leak. And just refit it.
Mains power into the van is a 15 amp lead. You can't use a normal 10 amp lead. It has a bigger earth plug on there. I recommend you have this plugged in at home if you're storing the van as well. It keeps your batteries fully charged. That way you're ready to go whenever you want to, but it has to be a 15 amp lead. And that just plugs in like that. Next to that, we have an aerial inlet. If you want to plug an aerial into the van, into this particular van, a coax cable gets plugged into there, and then you'll have normal free-to-air television no matter where you are, as long as you can tune it in. Next, we have the outdoor shower, hot and cold shower. It has the nozzle on there, hot and cold taps. You can sit the nozzle into the holder on the cover. That's your outdoor shower. Next, we have the mains water inlet. This is super important. So if you're at a caravan park or at somebody's house and you've got access to tap water, what you do, you take the cover off, put a male fitting onto there. I recommend a brass fitting. If you put a plastic fitting, someone will stand on your hose and it snaps off and you don't have any water coming in. So put that on there, put your hose on. When you're using mains water, you'll have mains water in your outdoor shower, indoor shower, and your outdoor kitchen. Also, when you're using your mains water, don't turn your water pump on, which I'll show you where the switches are later. With the water pump, if you turn that on when you've got mains water coming in, you'll actually drain your tanks out. You're not actually using the mains water. The mains water bypasses your tanks, so you don't need to carry water with you if you're going to a caravan park. You can just plug straight into there and you've got mains water everywhere. Next along here, we have just a vent. What that vent is for is your batteries are in a sealed box underneath your bed. That vent is just for any gases that may come off the battery, so they're not going inside the van, they're coming to outside. Then we have the cover for your hot water service. Really important that comes off. The hot water service will not ignite if you don't take that off. So what you do, you put pressure onto the front of the cover here, and then pull back with your fingers. As you can see, it has a split in the top. That catches onto the top there. My recommendation, when you're putting this leg down, take the cover off, put it in the drawer, then you don't forget. This will expel hot air like a hot water service does in your house, and also breathe there. What this is a dust cover, but it also helps keep spiders and insects out of your hot water service, because they'd love to get in there and put their webs down, and then it's not going to work either. So that's your hot water service. Okay, in our hybrid vans, we have king size beds. How do we make it a king size bed? That's really quite easy. We take the pin out of the spare tire. That one drops down. Some of our vans, there's 2 tires on the back on the bigger vans. They have a barn door setup, so it's a little bit different, but it's still the same setup though. You got 3 locks on the back of the van, all key lockable, so fully secure when you're traveling. Unlock those locks. Lift the back up. The 2 wings fold out, like so. Unclip the bed at the top. When you pull this latch out, it has a little pin here, which just turn it around and it locks into place. If you don't, the spike of that pin will drag down on the carpet and damage that. So just make sure that locks in. That thing comes down, really quite easy to do. And then the back of the van lifts up in the air and do your 2 hatches up on the side. And they're also fully key lockable, so it's fully secure when you're set up. This rear window also opens like the rest of the van does, so it has an opening close mechanism and all your blinds and stuff on there as well, so really handy. So to pack it back down, do the reverse of that, undo 2 locks, push the back of the van down, the base lifts back up, release your 2 clips just so it locks into place and doesn't rattle around. Just take the weight off the back of that, really quite light. Clip your 2 side wings in. That goes down and you can lock the van back up again. Okay, all the way around the van, you'll see there's lights on the van. Really good. So you've got white lights, orange lights for your bugs, and an orange and white. So it's a touch light, so just touch it. Don't have to hold your finger on there. You got the orange, then you got the orange and white for a bit more light, and then obviously you got off. There's also a master switch inside the van, which will turn all the lights on the one side off, all the lights on the other side off, etc. So you don't have to worry about each night going around and turning every light off. You can do it from inside the van. To open the kitchen, undo the latches, that folds up. There's also a light underneath here as well, exactly the same as I've just showed you. So you've got plenty of light for cooking. Open the stove up. Open that up. This is your dust, your wing deflector. The wings slide around each side. We have foam on the top of these ones. The reason we leave the foam there, while you're traveling, the trivets will fall off and you'll lose them. It means you can't actually use your cooktop. So make sure you don't throw these foam pieces out. They just go back on when you travel. Sit that back on there so you don't lose any pieces. You also have a full-size cutlery drawer and you have a utilities drawer. We also give you some spare jets for your cooktop. So if I do block up, you can replace those jets, not a problem at all. To make your stove work, underneath here we have a gas hose with a bayonet fitting. That bayonet fitting plugs into the van, and that way you have your cooktop running. We can't have that permanently gas plumbed by law because you're technically inside an annex, inside a room when you have the annex walls on, but it is permanently hot and cold water plumbed. To use your water and your sink, we give you the chopping board. Lift the tap up, take the chopping board off, obviously. We do give you a plug to be able to be used, and there's one tap here. So the further you turn that tap, the hotter it gets. So if you turn it a little bit, the cold water comes out, and then as you turn it further, it gets warmer and warmer and warmer. As I said, it's permanently water plumbed, so you don't have to worry about plugging any hoses in. It's just the gas you have to plug in manually. Okay, on the side of the van, this is where the stove plugs into. So just take the cover off the bayonet fitting itself, push the bayonet into the socket, and then just turn that round. That locks in. Then you've got the gas coming to your cooktop. Okay, under the sink, you'll see a black hose. That drops down into a bucket to catch any water out of the sink. When you're packing it up, make sure everything's tucked up, the wastewater hose and also the gas hose. Push the 2 little levers down, slide that in nice and gently, and give it a push. Make sure they lock in properly. Push the handles up, because if you don't put that in properly, then this won't lock down. Okay, on the left-hand side of the van, next to the kitchen area, we have a drop-down servery tray. You can fit a fair bit of stuff on there. Just make sure when you put this up, you lock these locks. Wind will get inside there while you're traveling, and that will come down. You look in your mirror and then you'll have to tell the wife to get out and lock that up for you. Next to that, we have a coax cable out. If you want to bring a TV out, which can go onto the bracket on the side of the van here, run your aerial out and that comes out to there for free-to-air television. You have a 10 or 15 amp outlet for power. It doesn't matter which plug you can plug into that one. That's no drama. So you can run 240 volt appliances outside the van. Then under here, we have a 12 volt plug and also USB plugs. So charging your phones, running an extra fridge or whatever, you can do it all from here. You have the handle with the light in there, easily to turn on. Turns the light on there as well as a footwell light inside. Really handy for getting your way home at night time. And we also have the security door. The best part about this, if you pull the black lever up, you can actually separate that whole door and lock that just by itself. Super strong. Go away for the day, leave that open, not a problem. Full security door. To put that back together, you have a clip here and a clip here. Put that back to there, push them back together, and the door's back together. Okay, to lock these doors, it's a normal key, like a house type key. There's a latch here and a latch here. They're lugs that need to be engaged by pulling the handle towards the back of the van. If you don't engage those lugs, the caravan door won't lock. So push the door closed, push the handle to the back of the van, put the key in, turn the key to the back of the van as well. That door is now locked. Left-hand side at the front of the van, we have our fridge slide area. Open the two latches. Pull the two blue levers down. The fridge slide comes out. That will fit up to a 96 litre fridge on there. You also have two drawers on the front. Really good for putting your unbreakable plates, unbreakable crockery, etc., stubby holders, whatever in there. In here, you'll see there's a leg in here. This is a stabilizer leg. So if you've got this drawer out all day at camp, a lot of weight is on the fridge. So to take the weight off the runners, the leg goes up into a bracket up underneath the drawer. So it sits in here and goes up underneath. And it also has an adjustable leg that goes on the bottom as well. Inside the cavity itself, you'll see a couple of switches and a couple of plugs. You can plug your fridge in through a 12 volt plug. You can also use an annex plug to plug it in. And this red switch turns on the exhaust fan on the side of the door. Anytime you've got your fridge running and that door is closed, whether you're traveling or at camp, make sure that fan's on. It takes all the hot air out of the cavity. Your fridge will run a lot better if it's cooler, be a lot more economical and use less power, and it'll also save you from cooking your fridge. So that switch must be on at all times while the door is closed and the fridge is running. There are also two more 240 volt outlets up in here, just so you can run more, some lights or whatever outside while you're at camp. So that's all inside the fridge area. Okay, to operate the toilet, with the lid obviously, the lever on the side here opens and closes the top of the canister. Go to the toilet as usual, push the flush button, and then make sure you close the top of that again. It stops any smells coming back inside the ensuite itself. With the basin and the shower, they're a normal flick master like you have at home, up, down, hot, cold, etc. The shower head comes off here, and you can put it up the top onto the rows above. Just make sure when you're packing it up, this comes down below the level of the van itself. These are offset so they won't crush each other, but when that roof comes back down, you don't want that hitting on top of the shower head. You have a waterproof cupboard under the basin. Really handy for storing your toilet rolls, etc. in. I still recommend, even though it is waterproof, that you put your toilet rolls in a Ziploc bag just in case. With the lights on the roof of the van, they have a dot on them. So if you push the dot, the light turns off. Push the dot, the light turns on. If you push and hold the dot, the lights will dim down for you, or they can dim back up. There's also a carbon monoxide and smoke detector inside the vans, obviously for safety reasons. The handles you see on the van are for if you happen to lose power for some reason, you can manually override the roof and pull that roof down so you can get home. With the top vents around the van, just unzip them. You can set them wherever you want, but put them all the way down. On the outside of the van, there's vinyl. It goes around the zip of the van so the zip doesn't get wet. You can lock them down and tie them down with the ties, but what I normally do, just fold them in nice and neat like that. You don't get creases in them and you get plenty of cross ventilation throughout the van. With all the windows around the van, we have the fly screens. We also have the night shades. They can clip together and you can have them set at whatever level you want to have that set. So the kids are asleep during the day, you can have that there so you got some cross breezes still. And then just push the little catches, that goes back down. Always use two hands, or if you're using one hand, only do it from the center. If you do it from the side, they can kink and they'll come out of the runners. To open the windows, make sure you push the grey latch on the window. They open up and then the windows will sit out and they'll open at different heights. So you can set them where you want. To bring the window in completely, push it all the way out and then bring it all the way down. You'll also see there's a notch in the lock itself. The good part about that, you can set that so they're slightly cracked, which gives you a little bit of airflow as well, which also helps with the condensation in the van. If you've got some air spaces, turn the diesel heater on, it'll help with condensation and keep that out of the van. Then to lock them down properly, undo them, pull them all the way in, and then make sure they're locked down on the outside part of the latch itself. Always have them fully locked when you're traveling. On the back of the wardrobe section, we have where the TV mounts. That's on a swivel bracket, which can swivel all the way around. You can also take this outside, push the top of the lever there. That whole bracket comes off. This can go outside and go on the outside of the van. It's a 12-volt television, so you can push the button to turn that on. You have two 240-volt plugs. You have your coaxial aerial for watching free-to-air TV, and you have additional USB plugs there as well. Each side of the king-size bed and also on the bunks, you have your night lights. Push the button once, there's a blue glow. That's often enough just to be able to go to the toilet at night. If you want the light to turn on, push the light again. That's on a swivel, that can be turned wherever you want it to go. And then just turn that back off. You also have more 12-volt plugs and more USB plugs. They're each side of the bed and on the bunks. Fans on around the van. They're a 12-volt plug once again. There's a little switch underneath here. Turn that on. Then the fan can articulate around wherever you want it to go, and then just turn that switch back off again. There's also more USB plugs in the plug next to the 12-volt plug. In the vans, they have a good little feature. You can actually fold the bunk up out of the way. So if you just lift the mattress up, that's on gas struts. So it would fold up out of the way and stay up there. Really handy if you're just using the top bunk, adult wants to get in there, or if the kids are inside on a rainy day and they're playing in there, they got more access to the bunk. So it also has a safety rail. So there's a latch underneath here. Undo that, the leg folds down, then the rail and the leg concertina around. That clips onto there. This clips onto here. And that's really secure now, so there's lots of safety for the kids so they're not going to fall out of the bed. With this particular van, the air conditioner's underneath the bed. So we have an inlet for your air conditioner and your 3 outlets. They're fully directional. We have the inverter switch. So push the button, the inverter comes on. Push the button, the inverter comes off. That's for running 240-volt power out. We also have a hot water switch, and we have the receiver for the air conditioner. So when you're using your air conditioner, because it's behind steel, it needs an inlet to be able to have the signal going towards the air conditioner. On the front of the lounge, we have two 40-volt plugs. We have a 12-volt plug. We have USB plugs. We have the hot water controller. We have the 240-volt circuit breakers. Same as at home. If they're up, they're on. If they're down, they're off. we have the internal speakers, and we have the outlet for the diesel heater. And we also have the control for the diesel heater. Very simple to use. Push the button at the bottom, it turns it on. The fan will regulate the heat on the diesel heater, and then push the button and you can turn that off. You also get a remote control for the diesel heater as well. Underneath the bed, we have the 3000 watt red arc inverter. We have the air conditioning unit, which is a reverse cycle unit. We have a water pump in there. We have the hot water service. We have the batteries in a sealed box. And we have the battery management system, which is a Red Arc Manager 50. Under the bed in this van, we have the reverse cycle air conditioner. It's a Truma unit. This one needs to be plugged into a 240 volt plug and turned on. This will operate on mains power and also inverter power. Just use your remote control, point it at the receiver, which is on the front of the bed, which is on the other side of this, and that will just talk to it and tell it to go up and down, hot and cold, etc. Recommend you don't use this for heating if you're not on 240 volt. I would use the diesel heater for sure. They're a lot more efficient. If you're on 240, you can use it for diesel for heating and cooling. It's not a problem. Okay, battery management in hybrid vans is super important. If you're off grid without 240 volt power, you need to be able to operate not only your 12 volt items, but if you want to boil a kettle or make some toast. In our vans, we have a 3000 watt red arc inverter that will run your air conditioner, your toaster, your kettle, an air fryer, etc. To turn the inverter on, it's quite simple. Push the button on the front of the bed. That might be mounted in a different spot in some other vans, but on this particular van that's here, push the button, the inverter is now on. Push the button, the inverter is now off. Only use your inverter and your 240 volt power when you're using your 240 volt appliance, because that will actually drain power when it's in standby mode. Not a lot, but a little bit. So turn that on, make your toast, boil your kettle. When you're finished doing that, turn it back off again. Your inverter's now turned off and you're back on normal 12 volt power. Everything else around the van, your fridges, your lights, etc., are all 12 volts, so you don't need 240 volt for those. On the front of the inverter, you won't be able to see it from here, but there is a circuit breaker. If you happen to not have 240 volt power for any reason, check your circuit breaker on the front here, on the front of the van, but also check the circuit breaker on the red arc inverter to make sure that hasn't tripped. Under the bed, we have the battery management system, which is a Red Arc Battery Manager 50, which is this unit here, and the batteries are in a sealed box in there. The battery management system plugs into a 240 volt socket. Occasionally you'll hear a fan come on. That's a thermo fan just cooling the unit down, so don't be concerned about that. The batteries are in a sealed box. By law they have to be, and they're vented to outside. So with lithium batteries, there's a trick with those. If they happen to go dead flat, you can't turn them, you can't just switch them back on. You have to actually get a jump starter to turn them back on so they'll keep charging again. You can't just put 240 volt power on them, hope they charge. So what we do, we put the shunt on the outside of the box. It has a negative wire and a positive wire. You can get a jump starter and put onto the negative and positive wire, which will actually in turn wake the batteries up. Once they're awake again, they will start charging as per normal. Hot water service, gas and electric. Highly recommend you don't use it on electricity off grid. You will chew your battery power. That's what your gas is for. So if you're off grid, when you get to camp, turn your water pump on and also turn your gas on. Give it a couple of minutes so it primes up. The hot water service is under the bed, as I said before. We have a hot water switch here and a hot water switch here. This is a three-way toggle switch. We have up, middle and down. When it's on the up section, it's 60 degrees on gas. When it's in the down section, it's on 70 degrees on gas. So if you're off grid, you don't touch this switch, that turns your power on. You have your gas on and you have your water on. Push the switch up. After a couple of seconds, you'll hear a click. That's the ignition of the gas unit. When that actually ignites, you'll hear a little bit of a whoosh. That's the flame coming on. That will then be lit and it will heat your hot water service up. It's a 14 litre storage unit, so you haven't got unlimited water, so quick showers when you're off grid. And that's how you use that. If you want hotter and you want 70 degrees, you push the switch in the down position. That then clicked, as you may have heard in the background. That's the ignition and that would ignite that hot water service for you. When you're on 240 volt power, And if you're on 240 volt power, you've probably got mains water coming in as well. So we can talk about the water and power after. But if you're on 240 volt power, turn this hot water switch on and leave this switch in the center position. That's the power position. That then has a heater element inside the hot water service, which will then be heating your hot water up for you. In our Pilbara, Barossa and Sorrento ranges, which are our 15-foot and above vans, the aircon's actually in the roof, not under the bed like it is in the Yamba van. So it works exactly the same way. It's still reverse cycle. Very easy to use. You can use it with a remote control, or you can use it manually on the control panel itself. Push the on button, it turns on, and then you select your temperature you want it to be at and let it run. It has a heat and cool mode, but if you're on 240 volt power, use it for heating, no problem at all. If you're off grid, don't use this for heating. Use your diesel heater. They're a lot more efficient and you're not going to chew through your battery power. So I've just turned it on and you can straight away feel the cold air coming out of there at 16 degrees. So they're really efficient. To turn it back off, push the button and it turns back off again, not a problem. In the Pilbara, Sorrento and Barossa ranges, we have a Dometic dust reduction system in the roof. What that is, it's forced air as you're driving forward. It forces air into the van through a filter and it puts positive pressure inside the van, helping prevent dust coming in. The faster you go, the more air that comes in, obviously. So they work from about 20 kilometers an hour onwards. And then you can take this cover down. There's a filter inside there which you can clean out or change. But it puts positive pressure in the van, helping to keep dust out of the vans. They're very, very well sealed as it is, but the dust reduction system obviously helps even further. Power management in all our vans is by Red Arc. We have a Red Arc Battery Manager 50, we have a Red Vision screen, and we have a Red Arc 3000 watt inverter. On the inside of the van, you'll see the Red Vision screen. That should be your control center for your battery power. You can see on the screen, we have 100% power coming in from 240 volt power. We have a little bit of solar flickering in and out under the skylights. And if you plug into your car, you'll see that there. It tells us we're 100% full, the current draw and your feed into there. This system has a lot of different features on it. So I highly encourage you to read the manual and also have a look at Red Arc's YouTube video on the Red Vision screen. The good part about Red Arc too, they have an awesome Australia-wide customer service centre. If you have issues with your power management, get on the phone to them. They will talk you through steps to be able to either fix or recover your power or even just talk you through how to actually use it. So I highly encourage you to watch the Red Arc YouTube video and also to read the manual as well. There's a lot of functionality in there. It tells you how long to go, how long before you're going to be full, what your current draw is, what your current draw has been over a 12 hour period, 24-hour period, how much solar you're getting in at any one time. So there's a lot of information in there, too much to explain in a video like this. So I highly encourage you to read the Red Arc YouTube video. Inside the van door on the right-hand side, we have a switch panel. It has your awning switch in here, which operates the awning. It has a switch for your electronic step, and it also has a switch here for your footrail light, which also does your handle light on the outside. With your step on the van, if you happen to leave it down or happen to lose power, don't worry, you can still get home. Underneath here, there's a little lever. If you pull the lever, you can manually push the step up so it's up out of the way so you can get home. The radio in the vans, they're a Bluetooth radio as well as a normal radio. Push and hold the power button. Tune your radio as per normal. You have speakers inside the van and outside the van. All hook Bluetooth up so you can play Spotify, etc. And then just push and hold the button and it turns back off again. There is also a remote control for the radio as well. Inside the cupboard on the inside of the door, you have your electronics setup. We have a freshwater gauge for your front tank and your back tank. We also have a grey water gauge so you can see how much water is in your tanks. We do have a quick snippet of what your batteries are doing at any one time, how much is in them, how much charge they have. We have resettable 12 volt fuses, so if something does trip on 12 volt, just push them back in, that's not a problem. With the switch gear, looks complicated, but very quite simple. Master on off switch, roof lights inside the van. When you turn that light on, if you've had the lights on inside the van, you have to go back and manually turn them back on again. Shower power, there's a blue light inside the shower that turns on. The right lights, so all the lights on the right hand side of the van will now come on if they were on previously, or you can manually just turn that off at night time and turn all them off. There is a light on the rear part of the van, handy if you get to site late, backing in the dark, or doing work at the back of the van. Left-hand lights, so if I turn that on, any lights on the left-hand side of the van will all come back on. And we have the water pump switch. You only turn the water pump on when you're using tank water. If you're using mains water pressure, don't turn the water pump on. Okay, in the bottom section of the cupboard, we have our 12-volt circuit breakers. We also have our switch for our roof to go up and down. There's another control panel here, which I'll explain in a moment. So with your roof, push the button once, the system wakes up. Push the button twice, the roof now comes down. You can stop it at any point, or you can put it back up again. There is also a remote control in that front drawer for the roof as well. Use those two only. Only use this panel for specific reasons. So if you want to set your roof to go up at a certain height, you can set it to go to 1 to 2, whatever height you want it to be. Most people don't use this because they've got clear height. The button you will use on here though is your M button that will reset your roof if you have to at any point. This is the main actuator for the roof, so all the power goes through this. If for any reason you happen to lose power to your van, you can manually put the roof down by undoing these two grey Cat 6 cables, take them out of their actuator, then you can manually pull the roof down. In the bottom electronics cupboard as well, you'll also see two 12-volt circuit breakers. They supply power to the van, so when you're traveling, they will always be on because you need to have power to your actuator for your roof so the roof can't go up. You also need power to your breakaway system on the van, so they will always be on. When you're charging the van at home, they can stay on, not a problem as well. So you very rarely will actually turn these off. If you do happen to turn them off, you push the little red buttons on them and you'll see the two little flaps drop down. To turn them back on, push them back up, you now have power supply back to your van. Now we're at camp, we've got the legs down, everything's all level, time to put the awning out. So what we do inside the van, we push the awning button. You can see the awning starting to come out, not a problem. It will actually hold its own weight, but I recommend what you do, you get it out just past the door. It extends a full 2.4 meters, so there's plenty of space underneath here for nice shady areas. Get it to about there. Just stop it there. Then just close the door out of the way for a moment. Get the first leg down. So the legs are actually attached up into the frame of the awning itself, so you don't have to worry about carrying those with you. Open the cam lock. Hold the frame of the leg in one hand and use this hand here to adjust the height of the awning. And then just push the cam lock back up. Walk to the other end. Through this end as well. It just attaches off there. Drops that down. Just make sure you go nice and square here so you don't break the housing where the awning actually pivots from. Again, hold the frame of the leg with one hand and use this hand to adjust it up and down with the cam lock. Get it to about level. Then you can just open the door back up, push the button and walk that out. What you do then, as the legs are going out, they can go on angles, just walk them out slowly. You can do it with a beer in your hand, that's not a problem. This is a one-hand job, this one, so you're almost done by now. Okay, the awning's now fully extended. Just square your legs up there. So we'll make them straight. And then you can adjust the height of the awning to make sure it's level. Another tip you can do with the awning, if there's a little bit of rain about and you haven't got it all fully set up, the center of the awning will actually belly and bow with some water in there. So that one way to help stop that, you can put the awning on an angle. So you can adjust one leg higher than the other leg. So you've got a runoff area, and that will help just to get rid of any of the light rain that's there. If any water does pool, you can push that up and take the water off, but you can set the awning up on an angle as well. Packing the awning away is the reverse, obviously, of putting it out. So just open the door, start the process of it retracting back in. As I said, the legs will go on angles, so just bring it in so it's reasonably close to the van, but not too close. We still need to be able to put the legs back up. So about a metre and a half out. Just open the door and just stop the awning at this point. So once that's stopped, put the legs back up. So pull the cam lock down, lock that up tight, put one leg in to here, make sure the end goes in flat and put that end in. Walking the other leg, again, same process. Lift the cam lock, lock the leg in place, make sure the foot goes in nice and flat, put the hinge bracket in, and that locks into place there. And it's just a matter of quickly opening the door again and retracting all the way in. Just take the weight off the awning with your hand, just so it doesn't break off. They do have a mechanism in them, but it's handy to just take that weight off there. And that will retract all the way in, and it will lock itself in place once it goes back in. With the Caravan, we give you another handle. If you happen to lose power for some reason, whether your batteries are flat or whatever, you can manually wind the awning in or out. So what you do, you make sure the switch inside the van is in neutral. Then this has a hex head on here. It locates up into a slot inside here. Then you can manually wind that awning in or out. With the awning, we also give you a little adjuster tool. It's not a swizzle stick for mixing your drinks when you're at camp. What this is, occasionally the motors on the awning will get slightly out of whack. So the back of the awning or the front of the awning may not quite locate properly. So with this little stick, it goes into another little hex head hole up in here. And then you just manually turn it very gently, quarter of a turn, put the awning out, put the awning in about 15 centimeters, 20 centimeters. If it doesn't come back in flat, turn it a fraction more until it comes in so it's square. Okay, the drawbar section of the van. On the top of the drawbar, we have an Anderson plug on the top here. That's so you can plug additional solar into the van. So if you're in the shade under the trees, you can plug a solar blanket in, put the solar blanket out in the sun. The battery manager will handle more than the 600 solar we have on there. So you can put another 200-300 solar blanket onto that to get more solar in to charge your batteries a lot faster. We have a manual handbrake, easy to use. Pull that back up, it locks into place. Push the lever, put it back down again. Very self-explanatory. The arc jockey wheel, super strong, super tough. The good part about these, they're adjustable height. So if you get to a site and you're wedged in on the side, you can lift the jockey wheel up a bit higher to get off the back of the car, or vice versa, you can drop it down lower. The handle is removable, so a little bit of safety when you're traveling. Somebody can't just hook up on the side of the road if you're having some lunch somewhere. So you take the handle off the jockey wheel. The jockey wheel will also swing back up out of the way when you're traveling, and it locks into place so the wheel itself doesn't swivel around. We have our safety chains with the D-shackles. We have our DO35 hitch, which we'll go through in detail. We have an Anderson plug which plugs into the back of the car. That's a 50 amp Anderson plug lead, which you need to get wired onto the back of your car. That charges your breakaway system and your batteries while you're traveling. The good part about the Battery Manager 50, it is an ecosystem, so it will prioritize solar rather than power from your car. So if you're driving on a sunny day, the majority of the power coming into the van will be from solar, saving your alternator on your car. It also has a 7-pin flat plug, standard wiring, so super easy to use, and it also has the breakaway system which hitches up to the car. So in the event, which God help us, that doesn't actually happen, if the DO35 hitch happens to fail for some reason and the chains happen to break away from the car and the van detaches from the car completely, the breakaway lead, which is attached to the car, will actually pull a pin out of the breakaway system, activating on the brakes from the van and slowing the van down for you. There's also a tap on this side of the drawbar, which comes out of your tanks or your mains water pressure. Now the handover is complete. Time to take your van home. So go through the sequence of actually hooking it up to the car. We have a DO35 hitch on here, a 7-pin plug, the Anderson plug to charge the van while we're traveling, your chains and your arc jockey wheel. So the best way to do that, back it up to the van, get it nice and close. Very easy to do. Just simply wind the jockey wheel down until the pin comes in through the hole. Okay. We'll get that jockey wheel up out of the way. The good part about the arc jockey wheels, there's a couple of good features with these. What you can do here, instead of having to wind it all the way up because of the different heights of different cars, you can pull the pin on the side of the jockey wheel and lift it up out of the way, then pull the blue handle on this side and then spin the jockey wheel around. The handle is removable, so you can take that off and put inside the car. Okay, with the DO35 hitch itself, very simple to use. Push your red button to lock it down, and to unlock it, you push the red button and you push the slide back. Very important you use the cover for the DO35 hitch. This is your safety mechanism. If this won't fit onto the hitch, it means it's not locked down. If we have a look closely, there's 2 lugs on here and 2 notches on the back here. If that's in the unlock position, that can't go onto there. So when it's locked down, put the back of the cover on first and then lock the front down. Then that's done. You know you're safe, you know it's not going to come off the back of the car. The next one is your 7-pin plug, 7-pin flat plug on the back of the car. Plug that in there, very easy to do. And then you've got your Anderson plug, which plugs into the car as well. What that does, it charges your van while you're driving. Just take a bit more lead out of there. It charges the van while you're traveling, but it also charges your breakaway system. What the breakaway system is this device here, and there's another device in the van itself. So in the event that the DO35 hitch completely comes off the car, the big chains completely come off the car as well, what will happen is this lead is actually attached to the car. So there's a pin in here. What that does, it pulls that pin out of the breakaway system. That will then activate the brakes on the van and stop the van for you. So that's your safety there. So that goes onto that. That stays on there. This attaches to the car. It can't go on where your chains go on by law. So what we do, we hook it onto the pin that holds the tongue in place, and that attaches onto there, quite simply. Then what we'll do is hook the chains up. So we have the chains. They do come with D shackles on them. So they come with the 3-ton D shackles, or we've got the hooks on the back of the car, so we just hook those onto there, and then we're all hooked up, ready to go. Next thing you do is check the lights, and then we're off to go. So that's how you hook the car up.